Hey guys, it's Czar from Cerulean Trading. Just popping on here for a moment. I had a question in our Telegram group about the Vwap. It's a volume weighted average price, and you see it here on the screen. I really enjoy this indicator. I've used it for a very long time, really since it was developed many years ago, and it's taken on different iterations or variations at the very least over the years. But this is the volume weighted average price. It's that blue line in the middle. I'm colorblind, but I think that's blue. It's either blue or purple. And I like to use two standard deviations around it. Standard deviation is a volatility measure that speaks to deviation around the arithmetic mean. So in this particular case, the volume weighted average price. And the volume weighted average price, the Vwap, is calculated by taking the total dollars traded for every transaction during the period and then dividing by the total number of shares or units that were traded. Right? So it's a fairly simple calculation, and we don't have to do it by hand anymore. Of course, now it's just done by a computer. But here we have the Vwap indicator on this chart. This is a 1 minute chart. And I sent this out just to show that very often when we get an extended move above the volume weighted average price, there's almost certainly going to be a reversion down back towards the Vwap, often tapping it, and then something new or fresh is happening. So we had this move from above down below. We didn't quite get to the first deviation, but then rallied up fairly strongly. And this was actually quite a strong move. I'll even show you that on this chart. This is a 1 minute chart. That was a 73, call it a 74 point move back to Vwap. At that point, this sell-off hadn't happened yet, and I drew this red line you see here and put a circle there and then drove this line down. And I said, this is not a prediction, but at the end of the day, this is a very common pattern. And sure enough, prices immediately turned and began to follow this red line down. And so folks in my group were asking, well, how did you know that was going to happen? And referred to this movement back to the Vwap as a stop hunt, and that's not really what it is at all. The reason this happened, and we see it happen fairly often, is it's an equalization function, right? Because there are longs and shorts and uncommitted traders in the market at any given point in time. So essentially those three participants, we have longs who have long positions in this. This happens to be the NASDAQ futures. And we have shorts who are in this. So they are betting on a down move, of course, in the NASDAQ futures. And then there are people on the sidelines watching this all happen and wanting to get on board, wanting a piece of the action, whether it's to the upside or to the downside, but they're not ready to do so yet, right? So what happens is when these prices get too far out of whack, like in this case coming down below, very often there will be a cessation of selling pressure or shorting that caused that move to continue to go down like it did, and that was a very strong move. Almost came down by gravity, right? It's almost in free fall. And so when that move subsides, when that pressure subsides, we get some fresh new net buying. It doesn't mean that buyers are all of a sudden flooding in here, but it means on a net basis, there is more buying interest than selling pressure, and so prices rise. It's very simple in that regard because this is an auction market with a bid and ask spread. And that's the way prices move in an auction market. So, but when they get back towards, even close to, it doesn't have to tap it exactly. That's the exact volume weighted average price right there. It got pretty darn closer. In that zone, things change because now all of a sudden the battle between the bulls and the bears, the buyers and the sellers, the longs and the shorts have been equalized for this period in time, right? In this case, a couple of hours, a few hours, are now equalized. So now there's no need for a cessation of selling pressure. There's no need for this battle between bulls and bears to continue and for the bulls to lose in this case. There's an equalization. So those who were short and were in profits, let's say from here down to here, when prices turn back up again, their profits begin to get eroded. And now when they get back to the average price, in other words, where the net majority shorted this thing, and went long, by the way, same price, right? It's a volume weighted average price where transactions took place. There's an equalization. Many of those shorts would now get out at a break even or near a break even. Some of these longs that were long here, of course, are taking profits at the volume weighted average price. The longs that were losing a ton of money down here have now gotten back to their average price where the majority of transactions happened and are able to get out of their positions. So there's an equalizing here, shorts getting out, new ones getting back in, longs getting out, new longs getting back in, and now subsequently going to lose, by the way. And you see this function happen again. The reason I chose to draw the red line here going down instead of going up is simply because I had seen what happened earlier in the day. What happened earlier in the day is this massive impulse wave down. Now we get this orderly corrective wave to the equalization point, and then a resumption of those impulsive factors that were in the market to make this thing continue. And there it is. It looks like black magic, but it's not. It's a pattern we see over and over again. But I did not know, nor did I have to know, if prices were going to continue back down again or if they were going to blow through, which they could very easily do, because now there's an equalization and a new trend can begin. But this is what I chose, to bet on. And it's a pattern we see very often. I would be shorting for myself just at the break of that structure right there and take this thing all the way down. I did not trade this, by the way. I was too busy explaining the mechanism on the Telegram group, but I had a very profitable day nonetheless, and that was all shared in our Telegram group as well. Hope that helps, guys. We will talk to you soon. Have a great afternoon.